So it's looking more and more like the Warriors season is going to be over unless they make a meaningful trade at the deadline for someone like Michael Porter Jr. That's been a hot name for in Warriors trade rumors. DeMar DeRozan is also another hot name in Warriors trade rumors. Larry Markkinen has been a target for Golden State for a while. And the reason why is that Jimmy Butler tore his ACL in last night's game versus the Miami Heat. Going into that game, the Golden State Warriors won 11 of their last 15, and now with last night's win, they have now won 12 of their last 16. It has been looking really good for Golden State ever since I made my video talking about the Warriors being a hot mess and talking about the Draymond, Steve Kerr drama that was going on around Christmas time. The Warriors have looked a lot better since then, and then that happened. Now it's like, where do the Warriors go from here? Because now, again, you have these names, Michael Porter Jr. being a popular target for the Warriors, and he's been in popular trade talks for Golden State. DeMar DeRozan, again, is another hot name. Larry Markkinen has been on the market, even though they might take him off the market because of Lowry's performance this year. He's been averaging 28 a game with the Utah Jazz, and knowing Danny Ainge, he's going to ask for everything in the kitchen sink from that Warriors team just so the Dubs can have Lowry. And I've been trying to tell people, and a lot of Warriors fans on YouTube and Instagram, that Steph is going to have to drop 40, even though that hasn't been the case for the last 16 games. It was the case at the beginning of this year until they went on a hot streak. But it seems like it's going to happen again. Steph Curry is going to have to drop 30 to 40 a game for this team to squeak by a lot of wins. He's capable of leading his team to wins in the regular season for sure. Could he lead his team to some wins in the playoffs? Absolutely. But his roster is not good enough to win a title. I do not know why people do not understand this. I get it. Steph is a great player, and he is going to be in this league. I won't be surprised if he's playing at 45 years old. But people have to look at other things outside of, okay, we have Steph Curry, we're good. I read a comment on Instagram that said that the Warriors are kind of screwed cap situation-wise unless they unload Jonathan Kuminga's contract. So I'm reading this comment off of Legion Hoops on Instagram, and this guy named GSW Trade Center, which is obviously Warriors Trade Center, this guy kind of explains how kind of screwed the Warriors are salary cap wise, unless they make a big move, and then it starts with offloading Jonathan Kuminga's contract, which that situation has been dragging longer than it needs to be, and it's low-key been killing the Warriors a little bit too. But he puts things into good perspective right here. The Warriors are right at the edge of the second apron hard cap, making any trade extremely difficult. Now they cannot apply for a player or disabled player exception, DPE, since the date to do so was January 15th of 2026. Obviously today is January 20th or January 21st, depending on when y'all watching this video, whatever. They will have to wait until next season to apply. Now, for the cap situation, the Warriors would have to attach 2 first-round picks to move off of Jimmy alone, which there are recent reports saying that the Warriors are looking to trade Jimmy Butler, which it's kind of head-scratching because what are you going to get for someone that is not only making $60 million a year, even though it's for 2 years, it's still a freaking overpay, which I'll talk about why I didn't really like the fact that they signed him for a 2-year, $121 million extension. But the guy is 36 years old. He just tore his ACL. You are not going to get too much value out of that because the injury alone just tanked Jimmy's trade value. If Jimmy wasn't hurt, then yeah, I would see why, because Jimmy's trade value is high and you could get someone better like a Giannis or whatever the case may be. Maybe a Bam Adebayo, or I might be tripping when I say Bam, but some caliber of player like either a Bam or a Giannis or again a Larry Markkinen trade wouldn't be bad either. But this injury kind of makes it difficult for them to trade him, especially, again, with the Kuminga situation. But let's continue. Plus, the asking price of players on other teams. The hardest part would be finding a trade partner since no one would want Jimmy now. I just made that point. In the event they do get the DPE, disabled player exception for next season, they can only sign someone up to the dollar amount of the NTMLE, the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. However, if Golden State retains Jonathan Kuminga or trades him with others for a matching salary, they will not be able to sign anyone up to said NTMLE value since they're hard capped at the second apron and will have no flexibility this year. Maybe with the multiple expiring contracts they have, they could work something out, but it will be extremely difficult. So now you guys understand the context. Basically, they're going to have to move off of Jimmy's salary and Jonathan Kuminga's salary in order to avoid being part of the second apron. Again, we've seen teams like the Boston Celtics have to pretty much decimate their roster and had to rebuild because of the contracts of Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis. And because of that, they were not able to retain guys like Al Horford and Luke Cornett. Again, that's why I'm thankful Luka did not sign that 4-year extension with the Lakers. Why? Because we would have been in that same predicament too, and that means a player like Austin Reeves would have to walk because we couldn't afford him because of that second apron BS. And plus, it will be extremely difficult too because it was a lot of promise going into the season. Okay, Steph hurt his hamstring in the second round against the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay, they would have won if Steph was playing. Fine. But the thing is, people were thinking that this was a championship team going into the year. Yes, they've been playing a lot better as of late, but the Warriors were in trouble regardless. And that's not because I hate Steph. A lot of people are going to say I'm a Steph hater or I'm like Nick Wright. One guy on YouTube called me Nick Wright because I'm literally saying what a lot of people that know basketball that are not Steph Curry super fans that know this. Look, Steph is a great player. He is going to average 30 to 40 points, which is impressive for someone his age. But here's the thing. He has to do that because his team is not good enough to win. It's not about Steph. It's about his team. I don't know why people think that that's just us hating on Steph Curry. I don't get that at all. Now, I did say in my last video talking about the Warriors being a hot mess, I did say that there is a possibility that the Warriors might need to trade Steph, and one guy in the comment section called me crazy, which I don't blame him because, who's not crazy in 2026, y'all? But no, seriously, it could be a realistic possibility. I'm not saying they should do it, but there is a possibility that they could. Now, I know Steph is not going to request a trade because he wants to be one of those guys that's stuck with a franchise for 18 to 20 plus seasons, like Kobe, like Dirk, like Tim Duncan. Look, I respect that. But if Steph is serious about winning another ring, he is not going to do it with this roster. And I don't think the players they're going to give up is going to be good enough to get someone like a Giannis. Maybe it's good enough to get someone like, I don't know, a Bam Adebayo. Someone said that they could use that package for someone like Anthony Davis, which I don't know if you're getting all that better by adding AD on this current Warriors squad. I love AD, but with a squad like this, I don't know if AD is going to be enough to put you over the top of the Western Conference. Yes, he adds a lot of what Golden State needs: defense, size, rebounding, secondary score, which those things are what AD is. I don't know if that's enough to be a contender with this Warriors team. Maybe a team like, let's say, I don't know, the Detroit Pistons, yes. The Boston Celtics, absolutely. Who else? The San Antonio Spurs, okay, legit. But Golden State of all teams with this roster, I don't know if they get that much better. Now, I'm not saying, Michael Porter Jr. would make a world of difference, especially with Jimmy Butler being out. But I would rather take Michael Porter Jr. at this point over AD because at least Porter Jr. is considerably healthy and available despite what last year's playoffs with the Denver Nuggets tells you. Yes, he went from 18.2 to 9.1 in that 2024-25 season, and obviously I'm 9.1. That was his average in the 2025 playoffs. But even then, at least he was healthy and available and playing. AD, I don't know if he's going to play 20 plus games for the Warriors. Because remember, last season when he made his Mavericks debut, he only played 7 games, and then the 2 play-in games where he ended up being booted out of playoff contention anyway. I don't know, bro. I don't know. And about the Jimmy Butler contract, and now this is where I'm going to get to it. I wasn't the biggest fan of them extending Jimmy for that much money. I understand why why he wanted that contract from Miami, but I was also able to understand why Miami did not want to pay him. Yes, Pat Riley's not the greatest owner, and sometimes he could be a stubborn old man, and arguably some people say he's the Jerry Jones of the NBA, which run it by me, Cowboys fans, because I can only talk so much about football because basketball is my main sport, and I have obviously become a bigger football fan these last 2-3 seasons, but whatever. But the main point is that that is considerably an overpay because for a good majority of the first half of the season, Jimmy played like an average role player. Now, I understand it's a cycle with Jimmy. First 25 games, he's kind of like going through the motions. Next 20 games, he's like starting to get things going together. And then after the All-Star break, he plays like an MVP. In the playoffs, he plays like an absolute superstar, which is why the Warriors got him. But now it's just like a lot of people said that Steph needs more help when the Warriors were not doing great. I'm just like, isn't that why y'all got Jimmy in the first place? And you guys overpaid the guy. So let that sink in, y'all. And here's the thing, too. Another reason why I wasn't a fan of that was because of someone like Klay Thompson. And why am I bringing up Klay in this scenario? Charles Barkley brought this up last year on Inside the NBA when they were talking about the whole Jimmy Butler Miami Heat fiasco. They brought up that the Warriors did not want to pay Klay because they did not want to pay for who he used to be, right? They understood that Klay was on the downside of 36, and they didn't feel like he was the same player when he came back from injuries, especially after the 2022 championship. They ended up letting him go, especially after that play-in game where Klay had 0 points going 0 for 10 from the field. You know what I'm saying? And then several months later, they traded for Jimmy Butler, and they paid him an extension. Mind you, both Klay and Jimmy are around the same age. So that's why I wasn't a fan of it, because it's just like, how you going to say Klay's out of his prime and he's too injury prone, yet you are paying for someone that has a lot of lower extremity injuries since that 2023 finals and who became more injury prone. You know what I mean? Now, some of these injuries weren't his fault. Yeah, he had a bad back against the Rockets and the Timberwolves because of Amin Thompson undercutting him, but a lot of people don't realize that Draymond kind of started that, if y'all watch that replay closely. But even still, that's why I wasn't a fan of that extension that Golden State gave him. But they gave it to him anyway, and now they're in a position where it's just like they're going to have to move off of his contract and then off of Kuminga's contract just so they won't hit the second apron. And one more thing before I let y'all go. Please stop bringing up 2022. I get it. It was a great ring. I loved it for Steph. I love that he won his Finals MVP. And I was very happy that he won his ring. But this is not 2022 anymore. A lot of people have to understand the NBA has changed. Steph Curry has lost in the playoffs ever since winning that 2022 ring, The Lakers eliminated him from the playoffs. He got outed by the Sacramento Kings. He got outed, obviously 2025 is an outlier because he didn't play in that Minnesota series, but the point is, the Warriors have not sniffed a conference final since then. Now, is it all Steph's fault? No. Is it the Warriors front office not building a competent enough roster? Yeah, I can definitely agree with that, but a lot of people are saying that, Steph Curry, you can't doubt the guy and all the other stuff. Again, I'm not trying to doubt him. I am just saying that this roster is not good enough to compete in the West. If y'all think this Warriors roster is good enough to compete against OKC, to compete against Denver, to compete against Minnesota, who's starting to put it together, to compete against the San Antonio Spurs, I'm sorry, but you are sadly mistaken. I understand this video is going to ruffle a lot of feathers, and I know a lot of Warriors fans are going to come after my head. Listen to me. I don't hate y'all. Well, I don't hate y'all as much because I used to hate y'all when y'all were terrorizing the league with KD and Klay for 3 seasons. And it was a long-ass 3 seasons. And I was just like, wait, bruh, can someone just break up this damn Warriors team? And lo and behold, Kevin went to Golden State, and then Klay, a few years later, headed to Dallas. And that was the end of the story. So I don't hate the Warriors as much. I just had to put things into perspective because I wouldn't just say this about the Warriors. I would say this about anyone. I would say this about my own team. And I've made my videos about how bad the Lakers have been. Y'all can go look at my timeline. I did not glaze the Lakers at all on this channel. I'd have praised them for being good. But at the same time, I'm able to be realistic about my team. My team is not good enough to win a championship either. LeBron is old and washed. So, I don't know. Warriors fans, sound off in the comments, but for everybody else, what do y'all think? Is Steph done winning titles? Does Golden State still have enough to make a legit run? Sound off in the comments. I just want to make this video. But yeah, until my next video, I'm X. Deuces. Oh yeah, that trade deadline video is coming soon. That's probably going to be my next video within these next couple weeks because the trade deadline is 2 weeks away. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. Peace.